Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another week and with it another fascinating round of incredible and fast and furious racing action in the iRacing official Porsche Cup by CONSPIT, the official series brought to you on only the premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. And today we take the all new Porsche 992.2 Cup car back to a familiar haunt, because last time out it was in Miami where we saw an unfamiliar car and an unfamiliar circuit, but we still have the unfamiliar car to some. However, this is a highly familiar circuit. We are here in Belgium for everybody's favourite Belgian circuit. It is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. 19 corners, 4.35 miles in length, or 7 kilometres depending on your preference of units. But one thing that stays the same, the racing is at the top tier at this circuit, and that's why it's a mainstay, or argue one of the 7 wonders of the motorsporting world. But who here today will be able to show their prowess and technical ability in the Porsche Cup car, and who meanwhile may be flagging behind? Well, that's what we're here to find out. But where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to another strength-fulfilled race broadcast from the 2026 Season 1 campaign. It's week 2 and you're tuning in tonight on YouTube at youtube.com and search for TX141TX, alternative Paul Walsh, and there you'll be catching all the racing action as it unfolds. Indeed, you'll be enjoying the likes of many in the YouTube chat, and don't be shy, feel free to say hi, including none other there than RP Corp, who says let's go, and let's go indeed, good sir. And I see the Christmas tree there as well. I hope you've had a good Christmas, and if you haven't, hopefully this will turn your frown upside down into a big old smile, because we've got a present for you today as it is Saturday the 27th of December 2025. And so as I try to get set for the 21:45 at Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time UTC time slot race. What's the schedule exactly? Well, the schedule is there's one race. It's 11 laps in length, and it's due to get underway in approximately 3.5 minutes time at 5 to 10 this evening. But who will be coming away victorious? That's what we're here to find out. But as we make our way into this week, let's give you a recap of the story thus far. And last time out, of course, we were at the Miami International Autodrome, and there we got to see a two-way fight for victory in the end between Thomas Ronhaar and Deegan Fairclough, with in the end Ronhaar coming home victorious, even though Fairclough threw everything at it, including a rather adventurous move into turn number 16, which in the end didn't quite work out, but he backed off there and made sure that Ronhaar was not removed of the place unfairly. However, we also need to give a shout out to Abel Torres, who had an incredible pole lap, but he couldn't quite match up to the pace over the race distance. But now that week is behind us, and week 2 we're ahead of the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and we've got plenty more weeks of racing and many a familiar circuit, and also some unfamiliar circuits right at the end of the calendar. And indeed, a great way to welcome in the all-new Porsche Cup car that's definitely got everybody interested, and those who are hesitant about driving it. Well, I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen an absolute plethora of splits week in, week out so far. Yes, it is the holiday season, but the Porsche Cup is very much truly alive. But as we come into this week, a quick summary of the top 10 according to the iRacing official Division 1 points tallies. And as we can see that after 1 week, it's Thomas Ronhaar who leads by the best part there of what is, my mental mathematics is correct, 14 points over Deegan Fairclough, with Abel Torres there in 3rd place. And then round off the top 10, it's Tobias Olsen, Linus Donovan, Alex Keon, Sebastian Bach, Elias Finale, Diogo Amelda, and also Leandro Lazendorf there. But will that be the way they stand after this week? We'll have to wait and see. As our drivers go battling today, our Titans will take on the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It's Grand Prix layout with its Grand Prix pit lane, welcoming our drivers, 19 turns, 4.35 miles, or 7.04 kilometres in length, and all these corners household names, where it be at La Source at turn 1, the infamous high-speed run through Le Rouge, and Radion at turns 2, 3 and 4 onto the Kemmel Straight, the chicane of Les Cornes through Malmedy and into Ravage at turns 5 through to 8, or the infamous downhill fast left-hander of Pouron into the Fangers chicane, and then the curves to Paul Ferrier at turns 14 and 15. And let's not forget the fast left-hander of Blanchimont, nor the bus stop chicane at turns 18 and 19. There's something for everybody here, and that's why this circuit is revered around the world. But as we get ready to go racing, regardless of where our drivers hail from, the rules remain the same. This is the open setup instance of the Porsche Cup Series by CONSPIT, and indeed our drivers bring a setup of their choosing to head of each and every week of racing. As to the grid, it shall be set via a closed qualifying session, which is currently ongoing, and we'll see the race commence via a standing start as it's a tradition of Porsche Cup racing. Drivers shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 17 or more instant points, and should they get to 25, they will be disqualified. But that's enough rules, regulation, everything in between. We're here for the racing, so let's make our way back to circuit side. And who's proven to be the fastest so far after 1 lap? Well, it's Heidi Nomamasi, the number 2 driver here, based on door number, but he's definitely number 1 in terms of the pace right now. However, he has got some incredibly close competition to contest with, including none other than Alexander Spets. Spets makes his way around right now, and Spets is looking to go a little bit fast here, given the fact he's currently only the 5th fastest. But normally a lot of drivers, they need a couple of laps before they are able to get it together. But will Spets be able to pull off some magic here, or will he be forced backwards? We'll have to wait and see as he roars his way around. But right now it's definitely looking as though the Swede needs a little bit more in the tank, as otherwise it may be Mamasi who is going to walk away with this. Our strength of field for today, well, it's an absolutely impressive 6,130, ladies and gentlemen. And, well, to put you in the frame of mind, it is, I believe, the highest strength of field we have ever had in this strength of field race broadcast. Indeed, the previous one was here in 2025, Season 3, where we had 5,644. And on that day, Heidi Mamasi had to fight hard with Aaron Vasquez and Bernardo Faria, with Aaron Vasquez taking the victory. But here today, we've broken the 6,000 barrier, and will we see Heidi Mamasi take that first victory that was denied of him at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps all those weeks and months ago? Or could we see a new name on top? Because we've got so many big names here, including Liam McNeely as well. Don't rule him out as he crosses the line. Spets goes up to 4th for the 2:16.592. McNeely to 7th. Igor Koz goes up to 6th. They're all improving. Mamasi punches the air in celebration with a 2:16.063. And meanwhile, Guel Costa moves up to 2nd there. Where on earth did that come from? I think everyone's going to be asking. As meanwhile, Hassan Saeed just gradually cools the car down now, and we've still got a couple more drivers out there on laps, but something tells me the majority of the laps are complete here as Carlos Miguel makes his way through the last couple of corners with 30 seconds to go, so he will squeeze in one final lap. However, what's it going to be here? He's currently with no lap to his name, and the number 22 driver crosses the line in this 25 car field. He goes 10th there. That's a good effort there from the 22 driver, a 2:17.014. Whole second off the pole time of 2:16.036 of Mamasi. But to be fair, qualifying well is one thing. Racing well, meanwhile, is a completely different story, as we see Martin Renhofer here make his way into a Stavlo, but it's going to be too late as 8-minute strikes on the clock, and that means qualifying is complete. It's time to head to the grid and see how they all line up for a one and only race. So as all of our drivers make the way onto the grid, this is how they'll line up. It's Heidi Mamasi who has taken pole position for gridandgo.com esports and joined on the front row by Guel Costa, the Brazilian driver. Behind the Briton directly will be a fellow countryman there of Isaac Phelps, the British driver, joined on the second row by Alexander Spets. Then we have from the Swede, the American there of Oliver Pietek, ahead of Boris Lizem, and the Polish driver being followed up there by Igor Koz. I do believe the German driver there, once again putting himself firmly inside the top 10, and he'll be joined on the fourth row of the grid by Liam McNeely. The Britain will then be followed up by GG View Sonic Simtech Pros, none other than Daniel Vicente, and the Spaniard is joined by a fellow countryman of Carlos Miguel, who surprised everyone by putting it in 10th right at the end of qualifying. On row number 6 then, on your next set of rows, we'll see Oscar Bernson there for Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing, who are the Brazilian for company of Felipe Dantas. And then we do have Harlem Oquis and Martin Renhofer on row number 7, head of Aidan Pole, the infamous American driver for Pole Sim Racing, ahead of Keanu Bushman. And then we have on row number 9, Hassan Saeed and Noah Wing. And round off your top 20, it'll be Heikki Schaefer and also Alice Pleva. From the Czechia driver, we then have on the final couple rows of the grid what will be Andrew Moran and Tobias Olsen. And behind the Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing driver, it'll be Josh Poulain and Lucas Riz. And last but not least, on this grid, ladies and gents, making up your 25 starters, it is going to be Matt Webb, the Welshman there, not setting a valid time. He is the highest door number, or the lowest I rating driver technically. So therefore, it does mean that he has got all the pressure from the very back of the grid. But as they all get themselves into position, well, a couple of cars still to make the way in. We'll bring you up those I ratings very shortly. There you go. And you can see just how big those I ratings and iRacing licenses are. But here come the lights, ladies and gentlemen, because everyone gets themselves set. It is only 5 red lights before we're away. There's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5 red lights! And it's lights out, and away we go here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps to the Week 2 Strength and Field race. And as they roar the way away, well, Heidi Mamasi there's had a good start, but look at Guel Costa looking down the outside and immediately into La Source. They all come through here, and well, it's going to taper nicely at the apex, but 2, 3 wide, they can all do this quite comfortably. We've seen some change in the midfield, but Hayden Massey right now has nailed the start, at least for now, as they make the way up into Uruge and Radion, and this is where it's going to be all about the exit and the run of the Kemmel Straight. So onwards they go. You can already see that top 5 starting to group up a little bit, and then we have Liam McNeely in 6th, who's gained 2 places. However, he's going to be gaining a little bit more time versus the drivers behind, as Boris Lizzen has already picked up a slowdown for track limits. But here they come then into the break-ins over Lecom, and Guel Costa going one side. Massey defends the inside. It's 2 by 2 behind, as Alexander Spetz and Isaac Phelps get involved with each other as well. And here they come for a bit. Dust being kicked up in the rear of the picture. 2 by 2. Driver goes on straight on this. Aidan Pohl, who's taking a trip to the weeds, but they all rejoin here safe and sound, and Aidan Pohl will have to give the time back. But Guel Costa right now getting ahead, coming down out of Manalmadi and in towards the Raj corner. And Guel Costa does take the lead of this race, just ahead of Massey there by a nose, as they now come into expand. But coming across, Spetz and Phelps are still fighting each other. I don't know how they've not lost time to the 2 in front, but it's getting very close there as they now make the way in towards the next braking zone. Bit of dust being kicked up there in the picture. There's contact between drivers outside the top 10. We'll come back to that when we can. But there's been a big incident as a result, but we'll get you the replay when we can, ladies and gentlemen, as we will everybody keeping it together. And this has been an absolutely incredible opening lap here inside your top 10 and even further down the field. But I believe Tobias Olsen and Harlan McQueese are the ones who called the worst, and Alice Preva has had to be towed to the pit lane as a result of damage. Olivier Pietiek, meanwhile, looking around the outside here on Liam McNeely, trying to move back into 5th place. However, he's going to fight it a little bit harder if he wants it, but he gets the job done in the end as Liam McNeely backs off there, respecting the fact there's no point fighting hard when you've got plenty more place and plenty more laps to come. So he knows exactly what the big picture is as they all come out to Stavlo too. But now a bit of a brief breathing moment as Guel Costa tries to bolt away here as he makes his way onwards towards the next corner. That's Blanchimont that's coming up, and as he does so, well, right now he is looking very quick as Guel Costa. However, is this one lap pace? They all run out wide there. They all take an instant point. However, they'll be able to get away with it as long as they don't consume too many. But into that braking zone they come, and Liam McNeely pushing hard on the inside versus Igor Kos now as Kos tries to make the move on him, and I think Igor Kos is going to lose out for now as McNeely takes a long trip out wide there, and will they now make the way to lap number 2. So after one lap it's Costa ahead of Massey, followed by Phelps, then Spetz, then Piatek. That's your top 5. McNeely is 6th ahead of Kos, followed by Vicente. Then we have Bernson, who started 11th, he's moved up to 9th, and then Dantas completes your top 10. We're 11th going to Carlos Miguel at the moment. However, he started in 10th place. He's lost one, but we've lost a couple of drives further back, and in fact we've got a second pack of cars fighting here. This is over 16th place. The top 15 are all together, and then it's the fight for 16th to the very end of the field. Josh Pillane right now trying to hold on here as they bolt their way up the hill, and as they make the ones to the Kemmel Straight. Right now Pillane under an unenviable position here, which is to try and hold on. Whilst for these guys it's not victory they're chasing, for them it feels like victory when they are some of the lower I-rated drivers, although Pillane here is out of position being the number 10. You can see Riz and Paul there going defensive. Lucas Riz go look up the inside, he goes to the double, he goes to the triple, he goes to the double and gets it done in the end. And right, Aidan Pohl, well, he showed you can get a 2-for-1 special there in towards Lecom. Lucas Riz and Heikki Schaefer now fight each other hard here as they make the way down towards the large bend, and Andrew Moran also trying to get involved here as they head onto the brakes. It's 2 by 2 as they come down the hill, and in the end who's going to get ahead? I think it's going to be Andrew Moran here just about, but he finds himself in close contact with Heikki Schaefer, and as a result Schaefer will take the place back. He'll move to 19th, Moran moves to 20th, and Noah Wing falls to 21st, losing a couple of places. But we've had all that happen. What happened at the front meanwhile? Well, Hayden Massey has moved back into the lead after a bit of an exchange down the Kemmel Straight, from what I can hear in my ear, ahead of Guel Costa and Isaac Phelps. So right now your top 3 have reshuffled slightly. It's your top 2 in particular as they exit out of the Fantasy Chicane. Otherwise, everything is as it was, and I think right now everyone is turning their attentions towards a little bit of tyre conservatism here, or conservation is the better word to use, and therefore now starting to get into their race pace. All the fighting has been done in the early stage of this race so far. Everyone's now got into their positions, and at this point you can't pick and choose. What you've got to do is now outpace your rivals over the distance. We saw that in Miami, of course, and that's how Ron Hart and Fairclough were able to run away with the lead in the end, because whilst Torres was the faster driver over one lap, he didn't have the tyre life towards the end of the race. Oh, that's getting a bit close. That's getting way too close there between Renhofer and also I do believe that's Carlos Miguel and Hassan Saeed. But in the end, as they all get back together, well, how they survived that, I do not know. But I can tell you one thing, through Blanchimont, you don't normally go too wide. They somehow managed to force the car onto the apex curb there, and it survived. But Hassan Saeed in the end takes 2 places for the price of 1 moment. And Martin Renhofer and Carlos Miguel still fighting each other now as they head in towards the braking zone for La Source for the 3rd time of asking. But who's going to be getting ahead? It'll be the number 8 there, Renhofer, for a nose, and here comes Keanu Bushman, and the German driver right now also thinking about an opportunity as we ride on board. Now listening in to the number 9 at this point, well, it's going to be full commitment all the way up the hill, but as he does so, let's listen to that engine. A little bit of light lift there because the fact he's got the dirty air fighting at the steering wheel is Bushman as he tries to chase down 12th place. Of course, these guys got the best part of 1.3 seconds to Josh Pullein. But he's going to be in the toe there. Bump drafting they do. And meanwhile, in the foreground of the camera shot, you've got 3 wide as they all make the way onwards. And this is Renhofer, Said, Miguel and Bushman now. And as they cover through, well, from them, we've got more fighting going on because Gael Costa, as they come down the hill into that braking zone for Rivage Bend, Costa has got back ahead of Mamassi and Phelps. Phelps now starting to get a little bit more adventurous here in the fight, and Alexander Spetz and Oliver Pietek, well, they're right now tucking all in, but you'll notice that Igor Kos, Oscar Bernson and company have fallen back. Liam McNeely has taken a long trip down the road. Meanwhile, that's almost going to the grass down the inside into what was put on bend. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life, and well, in the end, Isaac Phelps does manage to hold on to third place versus Alexander Spetz. They fought out of expend, and Phelps has been able to hold on for now, but what this is doing is it's causing Phelps to have to back up the rest of the field here, and Costa and Mamassi might now be able to start to extract themselves in this situation, and if so, well, right now Gael Costa and Hayden and Mamassi might be fighting for the win of this race, and Phelps might be fighting for the final podium spot. We might be seeing a repeat of Miami here, albeit different drivers, different circuit, but similar circumstances, which are the top 2 that are pulling away. But Phelps right now is really, not that I think he plans to with his teammate Mamassi, I think he's going to act as rear gunner here, not because Massi's told him to, but because that's the way this race is going. Spetz, meanwhile, now because all the fight he's done with Phelps, he's cooked the tyres a little bit too hot, and therefore he's now got Oliver Pietek to look all over the back of him. And Pietek here is going to look to the outside. That's going to be just to simply say to Spetz, look, I'm not trying to go for the move. And the American driver here just waits his turn as they make their way onto a full tour of the circuit. But there is more to come as meanwhile Carlos Miguel diving around the outside. They're leaning into the ABS and then realising he doesn't lock up, but the ABS will force the car to understeer. So he'll lose that opportunity versus Renhofer and Saeed. And now has Keanu Bushman finally trying to take that place off him up the inside into the source. It's a full flat they come onto here. There's still more fighting to come, and Bushman and Miguel side by side here as they come into the corner. And Liam McNeely, meanwhile, up the road has gained another place. I think McNeely's been able to find his way past Boys Lizan, who meanwhile has been involved in some sort of moment coming through the source because that car is going very slowly as he makes it up the hill. In fact, he's lost already half a second to McNeely, if not 1.5 seconds, if my maths is right. But we will catch the leaders now as they make their way down the Kemmel Straight. 3 wide here they come. Massey in the middle of the road, Phelps on the outside, and Gael Costa on the inside. And well, the Grid and Go machines are now working together here. They're going to make a rolling roadblock of this as they come through. They can't, but Gael Costa says, there's a doorway open. I'm going to get my elbows into it, thank you very much. He knows what's going on here, so Massey does take the lead back, and Gael Costa now fights hard with Isaac Phelps as they roar the one down. We jump on board the dashboard here of your full place man of Alexander Spetz, who's right in the thick of this. Can he get his nose in? Yes, he can. He goes all in versus Gael Costa here. He says, right, I'm going to pick one of you off one by one. Spetz has taken the gloves off at this point and says, I'm not playing anymore. But the problem is, he's going to play with Pietek going around the outside of him. But in the end, the American driver goes to the switchback here. It's a good move, and Pietek moves up into fourth place. There was a little bit of a push, but I don't think he'll be pushed to pass there based on the camera angle we have available. Of course, that's why the iRacing stewards exist, should it be reported. And as they come in towards the Fandra chicane, right now, these drivers absolutely pushing each other to the limit right now. And I can imagine we're only 4 laps in. By the time they get to lap number 11, it's either going to be in the gravel or it's going to be one of the best races we've seen all season long. Although that's not the best yardstick to use, given the fact this will only be our second race of the season. But you get the point. Let's say it's the best race that we've seen since the start of the Strength of Field broadcast, all the way back in 2025 season 3. Still, from history to the present right now, there's nothing time like the present, they say, and the fighting between these drivers is absolutely astronomical. And you can see Igor Kos has now been brought into this as a result of all the fighting. He's watching on there in the number 16, and Kos, having started in 7th place, I think he'll be licking his lips together right now and thinking, is there more for me to gain here? Are they going to take each other out, or can I just sneak my way into the field? Well, that's him to try and decide. But looking a bit further back, Josh Pullein trying to chase down Heikki Schäfer, and we also do have Aidan Pohl now trying to get back into this after what was a difficult start for him with that run off onto the grass on the open lap, cost him so many places. We are going to get a replay of that very shortly, but firstly, here comes Schäfer versus Pullein. Pullein looking around the outside, he's on the right of your picture. Schäfer on the inside in the all black machine versus light blue, and in the end, Pullein goes around the outside. Does he get it stopped? Yes, he does, and Schäfer will lose the place as Aidan Pohl now looks to go on the offensive, albeit it looks though there, the Max Verstappen Christmas livery number 24 will definitely right now, it's ho ho ho, and here we go up the hill once more, and the Pole Sim Racing driver here having to back off a little bit, puts the wiper on there to get some of the stone chips off the windscreen, but he doesn't quite get the exit he wants there, so back to a bit too late and couldn't quite get the forward momentum he wanted up the hill. And for Aidan Pohl, he's going to have to wait another turn. But in terms of how he ended up that far down the order, here's a quick replay. So this was on the opening lap where it went wrong for Aidan Pole. Under braking, he was in a 3-wide scramble. A little bit of a tap there potentially with the car. He was side by side. We couldn't quite catch the door number, and that's what sent Aidan Pole straight on. But he then had to serve a slowdown for that track limit breach, and well, eventually he did manage to get the time back. However, this then happened to Heikki Schäfer into X-Bend. There was a big incident through this corner. A couple of drivers went wide into the gravel. I think that was Aidan Pole involved in that. The number 20 went round as well, the Aerokinetics car, and that was Harlan Marquis, and that's how it all went wrong for so many. A couple of cars into the barrier as well. A nightmare moment there, and this was the on-board from Harlan Marquis as he went through the corner. So Pole side by side. Oh, Marquis then had no time to react. Pole got caught up behind. I think that was the car Keanu Bushman, and McCarthy injured the passenger in the car, sent to the barrier, and that led to the big scattering of cars. But back to your live racing we come, and good time as well, because Aidan Pole and Heikki Schäfer still fighting each other as they roar the way around. But as they do, they're going to stop each other for now, and we come all the way back to the very front of the field, and Heidi Nurmamasi right now enjoying a lead that is not being interrupted, because Guel Costa and Isaac Phelps, well, they finally come to peaceful terms for each other, at least at this point on lap through Blanchimont. But Costa right now in second place, 9. That Phelps is still looking, and Olivier Piatek has found his way ahead of Alexander Spets. We saw that earlier on, and well, in the end, he's right now holding the man at bay as Igor Koz gets onto the back of this even more still. But I think he's playing the big patience game, as Oscar Bernson in 7th place as they go on to lap number 6. I think he's thinking to himself, William and Idiot and Philippe Dantas right now behind him. Can he bring them into that top 6 pack? It is looking as though he might be able to. He is matching the pace of some of the lead pack right now, but that's because they've been fighting each other. If they don't fight each other, I think that gap is going to increase from 2.4 seconds to about 3 seconds at the end of this lap. It all comes down to how much fighting is going on here. But as they come up the hill, right now Oscar Bernson still, oh goodness me, the car launches into the air there, 2 wheels up into the air. Well, I think if it got any height, it would have been airborne, but Dantas does pick up a slowdown for track limits, and Liam McNeely here with the draft is going to power his way on past. But from then back to your top 6, and we can see that Alexander Spets gets back ahead of Piatek. They swap the places around. They mutually agree not to fight each other this time. That's the enemy is my friend logic there being demonstrated, even though they're not teammates. And as they come down the hill into the brain zone for Ravage Bend, well, this top 6 pack definitely stays very close together. But from these drives, we then make our way back to Lucas Reyes, who still fights here versus Josh Pillane, and a bit of contact there. That was very nasty. And as they come in towards Ravage Bend, Pillane all the way on the lunge. Oh, this getting very scrappy here, as in the end, Lucas Reyes will be elbowed out, and Heikki Schäfer dies up the inside, but Reyes has not given up yet, as the Polish driver looks back to the inside. Door to door, they come out the corner, and they're going to be 2 wide here, as meanwhile, Aidan Pole tries to make it 3 wide into Paul Bend. Don't do that, Aidan. Surely you're not going to do that. He decides not to in the end, but it will be Schäfer and Pole side by, well, Riz and Schäfer side by side, and Aidan Pole will watch on, but Lucas Riz does take 17th place back or thereabouts. Goodness me, what an attempt there, and in the end it didn't quite pay off for Heikki Schäfer, but he definitely thought about it. And then we look a little bit further up the order, back to Martin Renhofer. And Renhofer here right now in 12th place with Keanu Bushman behind him, and Carlos Miguel also catching up. Miguel, of course, did have that big slowdown penalty that's dropped him all the way back to 14th place from what was a top 10 start. Hassan Saeed is the one who's really gained as a result of all the chaos that's unfolded at this point in the race. We are heading towards the crossover point for the halfway very shortly, as we have a new leader to this race. That's something we just spotted. Guel Costa has taken the lead off of Isaac Phelps and also Mamasi. How has he found his way past? We will get a replay of that very shortly, I do believe, as they now make the way onto lap number 7. And here's the replay to explain. So this was coming out of, I believe, Stavlo 1 into Stavlo 2. Hayden Mamasi sideways there as he came out of Stavlo 2. And the car in the end almost completely dislodging on him. But thankfully it didn't. Otherwise that could have been tears there for the whole pack. And that is how Mamasi fell all the way back to 3rd place. But back to your live pictures we come, and as we do, Guel Costa, Isaac Phelps, Alexander Spets has got ahead of Mamasi. That was into turn number 1 from what I'm hearing, and Piatek right now on the back of this with Igor Koz being dropped slightly, and I think Koz right now, respecting the fact that his limits are, he can stay with this pack if they fight, but if they don't, he won't be able to. Phelps then onto the inside here in towards they come, and Costa's not going to fight it too hard, but Alexander Spets is there with them now, and Hayden Mamasi, well, I can tell you one thing, he definitely will not be settling for 4th place as they exit out. We jump aboard the dashboard here of your number 2, and right now he wants to be the number 1 in this running order, but it's far easier said than done when the competition in this field is so very close. And the P1 Docks machine right now of Spets, the highest iRacing driver here, well, he's got a reputation to uphold, as they all do, to be fair. That's why they are in this top split. Bourne Bend, and right now no change. It is all staying static at the moment, but it's for the next driver to make a small mistake, and as soon as one does, we'll be there to catch it as best we can. As we look back for the rear of Mamassi's car, and there you see Piatek and also Cos just obscured behind the number 13, but that's how close they are right now, running bumper to bumper here, and one small mistake will be the difference between victory or ends up at the back of the pack. Coming on for it. It's great to see so many of you in the YouTube chat. We would give shout outs, but we're focusing on the intensity of the racing right now as we do come back towards just outside the top 10 run, including Carlos Miguel and Keanu Bushman fight each other, and they do have what is Hassan Said, who's fallen behind them. Interestingly, so Said's had a bit of a nightmare moment that's dropped him all the way down. Something tells me that might have been a slowdown that he's had to serve down the Kemmel straight, and that's why he's relinquished the positions. So Said, who was running quite happily in the end, has gone from 11th to 14th, but he can get back into it. But as they head up towards what will be now Blanchimont Bend, with Carlos Miguel here, he's so close at this point, he could reach out and touch the rear wing of his rival, but he best not do that. He best focus on keeping his hands on the wheel, because Blanchimont at one hand it is nowhere near easy, let alone with two hands. But as they go onto the brakes, Miguel looking around the outside, he's going to force it to the inside here. This is a good bit of work here for Carlos, and indeed that number 22 lean on the ABS very nicely, and in getting the place. Albeit Bushman and Side now queue up behind him. Renhofer's going to be given some breathing room, but the key point being here in the fact that for Carlos Miguel, he's definitely shown he's not afraid to go as late as he can on the brakes. But from then, back to the very front. Lap number 8 comes about, and onwards they go. Phelps, Costa, Spets, Mamassi, Piatek and Cos is your top 6, but we can see here, Will Costa right now slipstreams wound past, and Phelps immediately tucks back in behind it, razor close to the back of the car in front of him. However, I think he's absolutely nailed that to a T in terms of how much he cuts in, and Miguel Costa right now holding on as they hop onto 2 wheels for a brief moment into Les Combes, and it's all back to 4 wheels very quickly as they can't cut any more curbs there, otherwise the car will end up in the gravel. Indeed, Costa taking some gravel back onto the circuit with him, but he's absolutely using every inch and millimetre of the track as much as it was designed for, and then plenty more. We call the extra bit of tarmac he's using value-added tarmac or VAT. But as we go down through X-Bend right now for Miguel Costa, he has got this lap plus another 3 to go. I don't think he's going to be leading every single one of them, but we'll be leading right at the end. That's the challenge that confronts him. But as they all come down the hill, well, you can definitely see how close it is between them all, as Boris Lezen, meanwhile, in 7th place. He has a bit of company with Liam McNeely. McNeely still with him, but they have dropped Oscar Bernson over the last couple of laps. So Bernson has fallen back tonight. However, he's still 2 places up from where he started, ahead of Philippe Dantas. And Dantas, meanwhile, completing that top 10. But such is the pace they're all bringing right now. And indeed, you can imagine if Lezen and McNeely start to fight, we'll have Bernson and Dantas there before you can say it's the final lap. Thankfully, we haven't got the final lap just yet. We want this race to go on for as long as it can because it's been such an intriguing race so far, but it has to end eventually, and these are sprint races. There's no pit stops for the uninitiated. This is all about completing the race start to finish on a single tank, a single set of tyres, and making sure you manage the car and you have enough fuel to get there in the first place. As we do see Aidan Pohl there taking a little bit more gravel out of Stavlo too. He's pushing hard, but I think for Pohl right now, this is a race that is not going forward. It's staying static at the moment, and Josh Pillane and Daniel Vicente have both demonstrated similar pace to him, and they have the toe of Heikki Schaefer. But back to the front then, on to lap number 9. As they come across the timeline, and we've got some very decorated drivers here, as I can see a 12 Carl saying in the YouTube chat, and indeed I did not know that with regards to Isaac Phelps being a GB4 driver, but I did know about Liam McNeely being a GB3 or a Formula GB3 driver. It goes to show a lot of these drivers, not just pro sim racing drivers, but also real world motorsport racers as well. It's great to see that mixture of drivers from the real world and the simulated world all together right now, but whether it's simulated or real, the emotions are absolutely real, and Isaac Phelps again looks around the outside onto the Kemmel Straight. He's going to be using the draft here, but we know that Will Costa is a little bit bolder on the brakes compared to his rivals. However, here they come down to the braking zone. Alexander Spets looks around the outside. Will Costa does not have the momentum, and Spets sees his opportunity, and the P1 Docks machine does move into second now. Spets has absolutely nailed this. Has he been waiting all the way to this point? The answer seems to be yes. I think Spets has said, right, let them all fight for the first 8 laps. Lap number 9, you need to be number 2 in this running order, and I suspect on lap number 11, his target will be to be the leader into Les Combes. However, will Isaac Phelps play to the song and tune of Spets? I doubt it, but Spets right now definitely starting to bear his fangs a little bit and show his vision onto the world. Liam McNeely a bit further back. He's still over the back of Boris Lizen. As we can see here, the Briton chasing down the Polish driver in towards Poorn Bend, but it's not forthcoming as we ride on board looking down over the top of the car. And Manini right now close, but not quite close enough here. But he's getting so close at this point. I do wonder where he set the car up to run in the dirty air when it is in the clean air. which is a valid setup on these cars, of course. They don't have too much error other than a very large rear wing on them. But the idea is that you want to try and fine-tune the car as much as you possibly can with the settings that are available to get your corner speeds and also your straight line speeds. But normally it's one at the sacrifice of the other, or you go for a compromise setup. But Manili right now, you can see the body language of the car tells you how confident he is in that dirty, and the fact he's able to turn in nice and early and attack those apexes. But Lezen, for all the clear air in front of him, is able to maintain his pace. But as they head up towards Blanchimont Bend, the gap between them will be 2 tenths. Meanwhile, exiting it, the gap is 1.5 tenths between Phelps and Spets. And see Phelps right now being given the opportunity to stay in the lead, at least for this lap. But as Guel Costa goes out a little bit wide, out of the bus stop chicane, that's Hayden Overmasi then back into third for a brief moment. But he's only ahead by 7/8 of a car because Guel Costa immediately now back on the inside here. And the Brazilian driver absolutely fried himself back up the inside. He's not giving up yet. And I think he suspects that if Overmasi gets back ahead of him, that will be it for the fight for the win. However, they're costing each other time here as they go side by side on past the old classic straight and up the hill they go. But who will back out? It will be Overmasi, who just backs out very slightly. But I think that's for a brief moment as we do see Piatek's car launch itself into the air for a brief moment, and on the nose hop, right now onto the Kettle straight they go. Spets versus Phelps, and Spets looking around the outside once again. Isaac Phelps tucks in behind immediately, but look at Spets. He immediately goes to the middle of the road. Spets does not want to let this go anymore. He has revealed his hand, which is he takes the lead, and now he's not going to give it back for the remainder of the race. He's got one more lap after this, but Spets has set a sign, which is now for Isaac Phelps, if you want it, you're going to have to get it off of me, because I'm not going to just simply play ball anymore. And that's what Spets was waiting for. He's played the entire 9 laps to get into this lead position, but he's now got to deliver on the goods, which is he's got to be able to keep these laps together and try to make a small break if he can. Meanwhile, we had a bit of drama further back. That is Daniel Vicente and also Josh Pillane. I think we've had a bit of a coming together. Here's a quick replay. So this was firstly Josh Pillane having it go a bit wrong, under braking into the La Source, contact on the rear of the car, and in the end Aidan Pohl trying to go around the outside in the number 12. That didn't work out, and Pillane escorted to the gravel. That was the first part of the story. But now, what was the second part of the story? This was Daniel Vicente battling it with Josh Pillane down the Kemmel Straight, going ahead, and then as they made their way into the braking zone, Pillane looked up the inside from very far back, and well, I think that both drivers there definitely saw a little bit of red mist linger over them there. I think Pillane might have gone for the dive from very far back, thinking he could lick the stamp and send it, and Daniel Vicente then went to turn in, and well, the two instinct to one another, and as they say, it takes two to tango, and definitely there, it was quite the dance in the grass for the both. But back to your live pictures, and here we go as we look to your lead up Alexander Spets, and right now he is only one more lap away. But Isaac Phelps knows he does not want Spets' story to be this way as Guel Costa looks around the outside to the inside. There's contact to Spets. Spets goes spinning sideways, and well, there's going to be a lot of question marks about who initiated that. Was it Costa trying to be aggressive and making a little bit of pressure to what was Isaac Phelps there? But either way, the race must go on, and Guel Costa right now is your leader. But here comes Isaac Phelps up the inside. Costa goes deep. I think that's by design. He doesn't want to be the leader up the hill to Origin to Radion. So now everybody at this point is playing tactics. They're all thinking about the long straight that awaits them. But Isaac Phelps has the unenviable task now of trying to lead this field all the way to Lycom. It's by far not easy. Guel Costa is the first man to try and tick him off the list. Where does Phelps go at this point? Well, he keeps it nice and tight as they head onto the stretch. Number 6 looks down the outside, forces him to 2 balls onto the grass, but then gives him the breathing room. Hayden Overmasi now looking for an opportunity as well. He tucks in behind his teammate, trying to get Phelps to hold onto the lead here. So Phelps has been bumped forward, and as they make their way into the braking zone, Guel Costa's there. 2 wide they enter, 2 wide they exit. They're still going 2 wide there as they make the way all the way down to Rivage Bend, but Phelps gets ahead. Costa's elbow into the gravel there, but some would argue that Costa should have backed off. Here comes Igor Kos. Kosta's up the inside. There's Piatek as well. Piatek makes contact. Costa elbowed out there into Rivage Bend, but Piatek saw the door open and saw Kos and wait to follow through. So that's Phelps and Mamasi. They lead. Kos has suddenly moved from 6th to 3rd, and right now as Alexander Spets has fallen all the way down to 8th place, you can see him in the rear of your picture, because there is Boris Lezen ahead of McNeely and Spets. Well, meanwhile, we look back to your leaders here, and here they go. As they come down through Port Bend, the white flag is out. This is the final lap here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and right now everything is on the line between them all. But Phelps and Massey at this point, well, one ahead of the other, but will they fight each other or will they hold position? We'll have to wait and see, because I get the feeling that both drivers want to win this one. The one thing you want to do in motorsport is beat your teammate. The one thing you don't do in motorsport is take your teammate out. And right now, as they come out into Stavlo 1 and Stavlo 2, well, the gap they've gifted themselves is 4 tenths over Igor Kos. And Kos right now, well, I don't think he's got enough speed here to catch catch up as Piatek and Costa are fighting each other behind for full place. So at this point, surely, unless Igor Kos can have an absolute magical run through the last couple of quarters here, I get the feeling this is Phelps or Massey's, but whose is it? As Massey goes out a bit wide there, and well, Phelps right now holding on as we see Piatek and Costa run out wide as well. But here they come then into the braking zone, and for eyes at Phelps, well, he's held on to it. Massey doesn't attack him into the last couple of quarters. I think it's going to be a 1-2 they're going for, and after 11 laps of furious racing, it's going to be Isaac Phelps who takes the victory here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, with Heidi Massey taking the run-up spot ahead of Igor Kos, and it'll be Olivier Piatek who finishes in fourth ahead of Gil Costa. Boris Lyson will take 6th place ahead of Liam McNeely. Alexander Spetz in the end of what was looking to be victory ends up being 8th place. Oscar Burnson takes 9th ahead of Philippe Dantas, who rounds off your top 10. And then Martin Renhofer will take 11th ahead of Keanu Bushman, with your top 15 rounded out by Hassan Said, Carlos Miguel and Lucas Riz. We'll have Heikki Schaefer and Aidan Pohl 16th and 17th ahead of Noah Wing. And then it will be Andrew Moran ahead of Daniel Vicente, who complete your top 20 with Josh Pillane and Matt Webb a bit further back. Tobias Olsen is still making his way towards the finish. It's been a tough race for the Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing driver, but credit where it's due to be fair, he is finishing this race. He's not giving up, and unfortunately we have had the 2 retirements of both Harlan McQueese after that huge incident at was X-Bend on the open lap, and also Alex Pleva as well, who got caught up in that. So unfortunate for them, but understandably with the damage they picked up, it was going nowhere, and that may explain why Aidan Pohl could not recover in the end after being caught up in that contact. But for Tobias Olsen, it has been a race not to perhaps be remembered, but always remembering for the fact that he did finish the race, and that's what we do love to see. But as he makes way through there, decides to pogo the car through the bus stop chicane to show off its suspension and how high those curves are. He will complete his race in 23rd, and that concludes our race here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, of course, subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries. But goodness me, what a race, ladies and gents. What a straight for field as well. We could not have asked for a more intense race at Spa-Francorchamps, and it looks so plenty of you guys and girls absolutely loved it. Let's give some shout-outs there as we're waiting for those race results, including at Cam Shah 5934, also Hayden Races, also Nick DeBeck there, who put together those absolutely brilliant graphics of the circuit and the standings that you saw earlier on in this broadcast day. So give him a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Also say hello to 12 Carl there. Also, I do believe to Aidan Simpson, and there was plenty more of you in there. I can't cover you all, unfortunately, due to time, but it's absolutely brilliant to see so many of you tuned in. And, well, also a couple other shout-outs there, included to JTS F1, and also I think they'll get one last shout out there into none other than Jed Van Hemert. But with that, let's take a look at those race results subject to Stewart's inquiries, because here they are. And as we can see, after 11 laps of fast and furious racing here in the Week 2 Straight for Field race of the 2026 Season 1 iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT official series, Isaac Phelps, your winner in the end, the gridandgo.com esports driver, ahead of teammate Heidi Massey. A 1-2 for the pair, and in the end, it was the man who started at pole who finished second, whereas the man who started third finished as your winner. But the big surprise of them all, Igor Kos, the man who started in 7th place, spent most of the race in 6th, took his time, and in the end managed to sneak into 3rd. I think he's going to be absolutely ecstatic when he gets out of that car, for the simple reason I don't think he expected to be on the podium, let alone the top 5, but he's magicked his way onto the podium. Olivier Piatek in 4th place there, the American driver enjoyed a brilliant battle for the podium, but in the end settled for 4th, but ahead of Gil Costa. The Brazilian driver, who I think will be fuming at the end of this race, given the fact the last lap was really about him being elbowed around. However, he found himself on the outside at certain corners, and on that last lap, it was always going to be a bit more intense than the previous laps, and he can't let it cloud up the fact that he put on an absolutely brilliant show and showed us just how late you can brake in the Porsche 992 2.2. Boris Lyson finished in 6th in the end, ahead of Liam McNeely in their great little battle towards the end of the race, with Alexander Spetz taking 8th for the privateer, but the Swede won't be too pleased with how he ended up in 8th, having been in contention for the win for the majority of the race. Oscar Burnson, his fellow countryman, was 9th there for Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing, and it was a further half a second to Philippe Dantas, who took 10th place on his debut. Well done to him in the number 21. Martin Renhofer, best the rest in 11th there. He did a brilliant job starting for 14th, holding off the attacks of Keanu Bushman lap after lap until he managed to break away. But that's a good point. Bushman there, finishing in 12th, having started 16th and fought hard every step of the way with Hassan Said, Carlos Miguel and Lucas Riz, who completed your top 15. Then we had in 16th place, Heikki Schaefer, with the German driver there with some damage on the car, not quite able to progress. And the same story there for the American for pole sim racing of Aidan Pohl with that instant expend. He dodged the majority of it, but the car was damaged damaged enough that he couldn't make progress. His fellow countrymen of Noah Wing and Andrew Moran were behind, 18th, 19th, and then round off your top 20 was Daniel Vicente for GG View Sonic SimTech Pro. Outside the top 20 then, let's not forget about them, Josh Pillane and Matt Webb, and then we did see Tobias Olsen, your last finisher on the lead lap for Ice Cold Racing powered by Maxim Racing, with unfortunate retirements for Alice Plaver for Core Team and Harlan McQueese, the Privateer. So 25 starters, 23 finishers, ladies and gentlemen, all of them on the lead lap, and a huge congratulations to all of our competitors who made it to the finish line, and of course, to our podium of Isaac Phelps, Hayden Omamasi, and Igor Koz. But with that, as we get ready to wrap up, of course, there's time for a quick word about our title sponsor for this series, and that is none other than CONSPIT. If you are looking to take your sim racing to the next level, then why not consider CONSPIT? As the pro driver's choice of sim racing hardware, CONSPIT offers one of the most comprehensive lines of hardware products to sim racers around the world. Whether you're in the market for wheelbases, steering wheels, pedals, peripherals, or rigs, CONSPIT's extensive experience in the motorsport industry means every one of their products is fine-tuned for success at the highest level. But do not just take our word for it. We're brand ambassadors including 2022 Grand Prix Macau GT Cup champion Luo Kaliu, 2022 Porsche Carrera Cup Asia champion Liu Ye, 2022 Chinese Touring Car Championship champion Rodolfo Avila, and 2023 GT World Challenge Asia GT3 Cup champions Climax Racing. You shall be in pole position for victory when you invest in CONSPIT's hardware. If you'd like to know more, be sure to head to conspit.com today. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, onwards we go to week number 3, and onwards to 2026, the calendar year we go as well, because that will be our last strength fulfilled race in the Porsche Cup Series for this side of 2026, but we'll make our way back into the racing on Saturday, the 3rd of January. And what do we have in store? It's none other than the Nürburgring Nordschleife. That's right, the Green Hell opens up an all-new calendar year, and we will see you in a week's time for what will be a race which will keep us guessing, much like our first 2 weeks of racing most certainly have. But if you enjoyed this broadcast, do let us know. Feel free to leave a like and even subscribe for all the broadcasts on a weekly basis. But until next time, this has been the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh, also known as TX1 or Britain the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, a happy new year to you as well, and may 2026 bring you what your dreams desire, if not plenty more. And most importantly, as always, like our drives, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night.